All right, guys, chapter 9. Up the entire length of my long, wide, three-lane road they came. Do you suppose that Miss Frankweiler owns the highway? Jamie asked. The taxi driver answered. This ain't no highway, it's all her property, I tell you. The dame's loaded. In front of the house, this has here begins to resemble what you call a normal driveway. Claudia discovered that indeed it was. My tree-lined avenue circles in front of my house. Jamie looked up at my house and said, another museum. Claudia answered, then we should feel very much at home. Jamie paid the taxi driver. Claudia pulled his arm and whispered, tip him. Jamie shrugged his shoulders and gave the driver some money. The driver smiled, took off his hat, bowed at the waist, and said, thank you, sir. After he drove away, Claudia asked, how much did you give him? Jamie answered, all I have. That was stupid, Claudia said. Now, how are we going to get back? Jamie sighed. I gave him 17 cents, so it wasn't a great tip, and it never would have been enough to get us back. We're broke. How do you feel about that, Miss Taxi Rider? Pretty uncomfortable, she murmured. There's been something nice and safe about having money. Well, Claude, we just traded safety for adventure. Come along, Lady Claudia. You can't call me Lady Claudia anymore. Wood there ascended the low, wide steps of my porch. Jamie rang the bell. Parks, my butler, answered. We'd like to see Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, Jamie told him. Whom shall I say is calling? Claudia cleared her throat. Claudia and James Kincaid. Just one moment, please. They were left standing in the reception hall more than one moment, please, before Parks returned. Miss Frankweiler says she doesn't know you. We would like to see her too, Jamie insisted. What is the nature of your business? He asked. Parks always asked that. Both hesitated. Jamie decided an off answer first. Please tell Miss Basil E. Frankweiler that we are here seeking information about the Italian Renaissance. Parks was gone for a full 10 minutes before his second return. Follow me, he commanded. Miss Frankweiler will see you in her office. Jamie winked at Claudia. He felt certain that mentioning the Italian Renaissance had intrigued me. They walked behind Parks through my living room, drawing room, and library. I was sitting at one of the tables wearing my customary white lab coat and my pearl necklace when the students were brought in. Claudia and James Kincaid, Parks announced. I don't like to waste time, so when I turned around, I did so abruptly and asked directly, are you the children who have been missing from Greenwich for a week? They had become so used to not being discovered that they had completely forgotten that they were runaways. Now their reaction was one of amazement. They both looked as if the hearts had pushed through funnels. All right, I said, you don't have to tell me. I know the answer. How did you know about us? Jamie asked. Did you call the police? Claudia asked at the same time. From the newspapers, I replied, pointing to Jamie. And no, I replied, pointing to Claudia. Now both of you sit down here and talk about the Italian Renaissance. Sorry, guys. We got a little baby watching and listening in the background. Jamie glanced at the newspapers I had been researching. We're in the papers, he seemed pleased. Even your pictures, I noted. I'd like to see that, Claudia said. I haven't had a decent picture taken since I've been able to walk. Here you are. I held out several papers. 2 days before yesterday, you were on the fifth page of the Hartford, the second page of the Stamford, and the front page in Greenwich. The front page in Greenwich, Claudia asked. That's my school picture from the first grade, Jamie exclaimed. See, I don't have one of my front teeth. Goodness, this picture of me is 3 years old. Mother never even bought my school pictures the last 2 years. Claudia held her picture up to Jamie to see. Do you think I still look like this? Enough, I said. Now, what do you want to tell me about the Italian Renaissance? Is your butler calling the police while you stall us here? Jamie asked. No, I answered, and I refuse to keep. Hold on, guys. Is your butler calling the police while you stall us here? Jamie asked. No, I answered, and I refuse to keep reassuring you. If you keep on with this kind of talk, I shall find you so dull, and I shall call your parents as well as the police to get rid of you. Is that clear, young man? Yes, Jamie muttered. Young lady? Claudia nodded yes. They both stood and bowed heads. Then I asked Jamie, do I frighten you, young man? Jamie looked up. No, ma'am. I'm quite used to frightening things, and you're really not so bad looking. So bad looking. I wasn't referring to the way I look. Actually, I never think about much about that anymore. I rang for Parks. When he arrived, I told him to please bring me a mirror. Everyone waited in silence until Parks returned with a mirror. Silence continued as I picked it up and began a very long and close inspection of my face. My nose has gotten longer, like Pinocchio, but not for the same reason. Well, not most of the time. I said it as I put down the mirror. Claudia gasped, and I laughed. Oh, so you were thinking the same thing? No matter. I never really look past my eyes. That way I always feel pretty. Windows to the soul, you know. Well then, I said, we'll continue, Parks. Please return the mirror. We want to talk about the Italian Renaissance. James, you haven't said one word since you told me that I looked frightening. Speak now. We want to know about the statue, Jamie stammered. Speak up, boy, I commanded. What statue? The statue in the Metropolitan Museum of in New York City, in Manhattan, the one of the angel. The one you sold for $225, Claudia added. I walked over to my files of newspaper clippings and pulled out a manila folder, the one which had all newspaper clippings about the auction in the museum buying the statue. It also contains the article about the crowds going to see the statue. Why did you sell her? Claudia asked, pointing to the picture of Angel. Because I don't like to donate things. If I owned such a lovely statue, I'd never sell it, or donate it either. I'd cherish it like a member of my own family, Claudia preached. Considering all the trouble you've caused your family, that isn't saying much. Have they been worried? She asked. If you hadn't been so busy looking up your picture in the paper, you could have read that they are nearly frantic. Claudia blushed. But I wrote them a letter. I told them not to worry. Evidently your letters didn't work. Everyone is worried. I told them not to, she repeated. We're going home anyway, as soon as you tell us if Michelangelo carved Angel. Did he do it? That's my secret. Where have you been all week? That's our secret, Claudia answered, lifting her chin high. Good for you, I cheered. Now I was certain that I liked these two children. Let's go to lunch. Examining the two of them in the bright light, I saw that they looked wrinkled, dusty, and gray, and I instructed them to wash up before, while I told the cook to prepare for two more. There was nothing Claudia wanted more than to take a bath in that tub. She examined her eyes a little longer and then spoke to her image in the mirror. You'll never have a better chance, Lady Claudia. Go ahead, do it. So she did. She opened the taps and began undressing as the tub was filling up. Meanwhile, Jamie had done his customary job of washing up. That is, he had washed the palms and not backs of his hand, his mouth, and not the eyes of his face. He emerged from the bathroom long before Claudia, in growing impatient, began wandering through the rooms until he found Hortense and asked her the whereabouts of his sister. He followed directions to Claudia's bathroom where he heard the water still running. It takes a lot of water to fill that tub. Claudia, he yelled it. Is anything the matter? No, she answered. I'll be right there. What's taking you so long? I'm taking a bath, she called. Oh, baloney, Jamie answered. He walked away to find me. I was waiting in the dining room. I'm accustomed to eating on time, and I was hungry. The nutty sister of mine is taking a bath. Don't mind her. She even likes to take baths when she comes in from swimming. She even made us take baths while we were hiding at the Met. I think we should start without her. I smiled. I think, James, that you already have. I rang for Parks, and he appeared with a salad and began serving. How did Claudia manage to take a bath in the museum? I asked casually. In the fountain. It was cold. And I didn't mind when we found. Oh, I did it. I told it. I did it. He rested his elbows on the table and his chin in his hand. He slowly shook his head. Sometimes I stink at keeping secrets. Don't tell Claudia I told you, please. I'm curious to know how you manage. I was curious, and you know that I could be absolutely charming when I want information. Let Claudia tell you that she did the planning. I managed the money. She's big on ideas, but she's also big on spending money. I managed fine until today. Now we're broke. Not 1 cent left to get back to Greenwich. You can walk or hitchhike. Try telling that to Claude. Or you can turn yourselves in. The police will take you back, or your parents will come and get you. Maybe that will appeal to Claude, but I doubt it, even though she sure doesn't approve of making herself walk. Perhaps we can work out a deal. You give me some details and I'll give you a ride back. Jamie shook his head. You'll have to work out with Claude. The only kind of deal I can make concerns money, and we don't have any of that anymore. You are poor indeed, if that's the only kind of deal you can make. Jamie brightened. Would you like a game of cards? Which game? I asked. War. I assume you cheat. Yeah, he sighed. I may decide to play after lunch anyway. Claudia appeared as we were finishing our soup. I asked Claudia when she finished if she would like to do what she would like to do while Jamie and I played cards. She said she thinks she would like to watch us and think. Think about what? About how we're going to get back home. Call up your family, I suggested. They'll come for you. Oh, it's so hard to explain over the phone. It will cause so much commotion. I was astonished. You still don't think you've caused any commotion so far? I haven't really thought about it very hard. I've been so worried about Michelangelo and avoiding getting caught. If only you'd tell me if the statue was done by Michelangelo, then I would feel I could go home again. Why would that make a difference? I asked. It would because you found that running away from home didn't make a real difference. You were still the same Greenwich Claudia, planning and washing, keeping things in order. I guess that's right, Claudia said quietly. Then why did you run away? I got the idea when I was mad at my parents. That was getting the idea. Then I started planning it. I thought that I had to think of everything, and I thought of an awful lot, didn't I, Jamie? I enjoyed the planning without anyone knowing what I was doing. I am very good at planning. And the more plans you made, the more it became like living at home away from home, I interrupted. That's true. But we did enjoy living away from home in a mild kind of way. Notice that Claudia is being very careful not to reveal to me where she and Jamie stayed. I wasn't ready to push yet. I felt I had to help the child. Don't laugh as you read this, Saxonberg. I do have some charity in me. What part of living away from home did you like the best? Jamie answered first. Not having a schedule. What was the most fun part to you, Claudia? First, it was the hiding, not being discovered, and after hiding, it became easy. There was Angel. Somehow, Angel became more important than running away. How did Angel become involved with your running away? I've heard. I won't tell you, Claudia answered. I put my surprised look and asked, why not? Because if I tell you how Angel got involved, it will be like telling you too much. Like telling me where you've been all week? Maybe, she said coolly. Why don't you want to tell me that? I told you before, that's our secret. You don't want to lose your bargaining weapon, I crowed. Is that why you're not telling me where you stayed? That's part of the reason. The other part is, I think, the other part that if I tell you, then I know for sure that my adventure is over. And I don't want it to be over until I'm sure I've had enough. The adventure is over. Everything gets over, and nothing is ever enough except for the part where you carry with you. It's the same as going on vacation. Some people spend their time on vacation taking pictures so that they come home and they can show all their friends evidence that they have a good time. They don't like to pause to let the vacation enter inside them and take that home. Well, I don't really want to tell you where we've been. I know, I answered. We're going to pause right here, guys. Hey guys, so we're going to continue where we left off. Well, I don't really want to tell you where we've been. I know, I answered. Claudia looked at me. Do you know I don't want to tell you, or do you know where we've been? Which do you mean? Both, I told her quietly. Jamie, that's all we had. The only thing we had left. I forgot, Claude. It's been so long since I've had a conversation with anyone but you. You shouldn't have told her. You heard me say to her that that was our secret twice. Now everything is lost. How can I get her to tell? You had to go and blab it all, blabbermouth. Jamie looked at me for sympathy. She does get emotional. Claudia, I said, be seated. She obeyed, and I continued. All is not lost. I'm going to make a bargain with you, both of you. First of all, stop referring to me as her. I am Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. Then, if you give me all the details of your running away, if you tell me everything, I'll give you a ride home. I'll have Sheldon, my chauffeur, drive you home." Claudia nodded no. "A Rolls Royce, Claudia, and a chauffeur. That's a very fine offer," I teased. Jamie said, "How about it, Claude? It beats walking." Claudia squinted her eyes and crossed her arms over her chest. "It's not enough. I want to know about Angel. Claudia, James, both of you, come with me." We arrived at my office and I motioned for them to sit down. "Do you see those filing cabinets along that wall?" I pointed to the south wall. "Those are my secrets. In one of them is the secret of Michelangelo's Angel. I'll share that secret with you and the rest of my bargain. But now my information is more important than yours, so you must have a handicap. The handicap is that you must find the secret file yourselves, and you only have 1 hour to do it in." I turned to leave, then remembered, "And I don't want my files messed up or placed out of order. They're in a special order that only makes sense to me. If you move things around, I won't be able to find anything, and our whole arrangement will be off." I tiptoed into the large closet I have next to my office. From there I watched and listened to all they did. Jamie got up immediately and started opening drawers. Claudia said, "Stop." He did. "What's the matter with you, Claude? We only have 1 hour." 5 minutes of planning are worth 15 minutes of just looking. Quick, give me a pencil and a notepad from that table." Jamie ran to get them. Claudia immediately began making a list. "Here's what we'll look up. I'll take the odd numbers, you take the even." "I want odds." "For goodness sake, Jamie, take the odds then." Here's the list Claudia wrote. Michelangelo, number 2. Buonarroti, number 3. Angel, 4. Park Bernadette Galleries, 5. Metropolitan Museum of Art, 6. Italian Renaissance, 7. Auctions, 8. Sculpture, 9. Marble, 10. Florence, Italy, 11. Rome, Italy. Jamie looked over the list. "I changed my mind. I'll take evens. That's one less." "Talk about wasting time," Claudia screamed. "Take evens then, but get to it." They began to work very rapidly. Once or twice Claudia cautioned Jamie not to make a mess. They have exhausted the list, odds as well as evens. There were folders on most of the categories they looked up, but after examining them, they found not one hint of Angel. Claudia was feeling depressed. She looked at the clock. 6 minutes to go. "Think, Jamie, think. What else can we look up?" Jamie squinted his eyes, a sign that he was thinking hard. "Look him up under... What kind of language is that? Look him up under. Oh, baloney, Claude. Why do you always pick on my Baloney. That's it, Jamie. She bought Angel in Bologna, Italy. The paper said so. Look up Bologna." They ran back to the files and pulled the folder fat with papers and documents. It was labeled Bologna, Italy. They knew even before opening it that it was the right one. I knew too. They had found the file that held the secret. Claudia was no longer in a hurry. She sauntered over the table, carefully laid down the file, smoothed her skirt under her, and sat in the chair. Jamie was jumping up and down. "Hurry, Claude. The hour is almost over." Jamie was not going to be hurried. She carefully opened the folder, almost afraid of what she would find. The evidence was sealed between 2 sheets of glass. The evidence was a very special, very old piece of paper. On one side was written a poem, a sonnet. Since it was written in Italian, neither Claudia nor Jamie could read it, but they could see that the handwriting was angular and beautiful, in itself almost a work of art, and there was a signature, Michelangelo. The other side of the paper needed no translation, for there, in the midst of the sketches of hands and torsos, was a sketch of someone they knew, Angel. There were the first lines of a thought that was to become the museum mystery 470 years later. There on that piece of paper was the idea just as it had come to Michelangelo's head to his hand, and he had jotted it down. Claudia looked at the sketch until the image became blurred. She was crying. At first she said nothing. She simply sat in the chair with tears slowly streaming down her face, hugging the glass frame and shaking her head back and forth. When at last she found her voice, it was a hushed voice, the voice she used for church. "Just think, Jamie, Michelangelo himself touched this over 400 years ago." Jamie was looking through the rest of the folder. "The glass," he said. I'll bet he didn't touch the glass. Are his fingerprints on it? He didn't wait for an answer before asking something else. What do you suppose the rest of the papers are? They are my research on Angel, I answered as I emerged from the hiding place in the closet. He did it in Rome, you know. I just file it under B for Bologna to make it hard. Both children looked up at me startled, just as they had lost feelings of urgency. They had also lost all thoughts of me. Finding a secret can make everything else unimportant, you know. Claudia said nothing and nothing and nothing. She continued clutching the drawing to her chest and rocking it back and forth. She appeared to be in a trance. Jamie and I stared at her until she felt our eyes focused on her like four laser beams. She looked up at us and smiled. Michelangelo did sculpture the statue, didn't he, Miss Frankweiler? Of course, I've known that for a long time that he did, ever since I got that sketch. How did you get that sketch? Jamie asked. I got it after the war. Which war? Jamie interrupted. World War II. Which world do you think I meant? The American Revolution? Are you that old? Jamie asked. I'm not even going to answer that. Claudia said, Hush, Jamie, let her tell us. She couldn't hush either. She rushed in with an explanation. I'll bet you helped some rich Italian nobleman or some descendants of Michelangelo to escape, and he gave you the sketch out of his undying gratitude. That's one explanation, but not the correct one. There was a Italian nobleman involved. That Bart was right. Did he sell it to you? Claudia rushed in again in another explanation. He had a beautiful daughter, and she needed this operation very badly, and you... Jamie interrupted. Hush, Claudia. Then he asked me, why did he give it to you? Because he was very, very bad poker player, and I am a very good one. Wanted at cards? I could see admiration grow in Jamie's eyes. Yes, I did. Did you cheat? She asked. Jamie, when the stakes are high, I never cheat. I consider myself too important to do that. Jamie asked, how come you don't sell the sketch? You could get quite a bundle for that, being that it matches up with the statue and all. I need having a secret more than I need the money, I told him. I know that Claudia understood. Jamie looked puzzled. Thank you for sharing your secret with us, Claudia whispered. How do you know that we'll keep your secret? Jamie asked. Now, a boy who cheats at cards should be able to answer that. Jamie's face broke into a huge grin. Bribery, he exclaimed. You're going to bribe us. Hallelujah. Tell me, I'm ready. What's the deal? I laughed. The deal is this. You give me the details of your running away, and I'll give you the sketch. Jamie gasped. That doesn't sound like bribery. That doesn't even sound like you, Miss Frankweiler. You're smarter than that. How do you know that I won't slip about your secret as I did with the museum? That boy really amused me. You're right, Jamie. I am smarter than that. I've got a method to keep you slip-proof about the sketch. What's that? I'm not going to give you the sketch outright. I'm going to leave it for you in my will. You won't tell my secret because if you do, I'll write you out of my will. You would lose all that money. You said that the sketch was worth quite a bundle, so you're going to be very good at keeping this secret. Claudia will keep quiet for different reasons. Her reason happens to be the same as mine. Which is what? Jamie asked. Simply because it's a secret. It will enable her to return to Greenwich. Claudia looked at Jamie and nodded. Something I had just said made sense. I continued. Returning with a secret is what she really wants. Angel had a secret, and that made her exciting. Important. Claudia doesn't want adventure. She likes baths and feeling comfortable too much for that kind of thing. Secrets are kind of an adventure she needs. Secrets are safe, and they do much to make you different. On the inside where it counts. I won't actually be getting a secret from you. I'll be getting details. I'm a collector of all things besides art, I said, pointing to the files. If all those files are secret, and if my secrets make you feel different inside, Miss Frankweiler must be most mixed up, the most different insides I've ever seen, or any doctor has seen either. I grinned. There's a lifetime of secrets in those files. But there's also just a lot of newspaper clippings, junk. It's hodgepodge, like my art collection. Now, you'll tell me everything about your running away, and I'll add that to my files. Whereas Jamie's excitement bubbled out of him in grins and spurts of jittering around the room, Claudia's excitement flowed, not bubbled. I could see that she was a little surprised. She had not known that Angel would have an answer, but she had expected it to be a loud bang, not a quiet soaking in. Of course, secrets make a difference. That was why planning the runaway had been such fun. It was a secret. And hiding in the museum had been a secret, but they weren't permanent. They had to come to an end. Angel wouldn't. She could carry the secret of Angel inside her for 20 years, just as I had. Now she wouldn't have to be a hero when she returned home, except to herself. And now she knew something about the secrets that she hadn't known before. I could tell that she felt happy. Happiness is excitement that has found a settling down place, but there is always a little corner that keeps flapping around. Jamie had kept her doubts to herself, but she was an honest child, an honorable child. Miss Frankweiler, she said, swallowing hard, I really love the sketch. I really do. I love it. Just love, love, love it. But don't you think you ought to give it to the museum? They're just dying to find out whether the statue is real or not. Nonsense. What a coincidence you suddenly have. I want to give it to you in exchange. If you and Jamie want to give it to the museum after you inherit it, then you give it to the museum. I won't let the museum people near it. If I could keep them out of Connecticut altogether, I would. I don't want them to have it while I'm alive. Claudia wiped her forehead with her sleeve of her sweater and asked, why not? I've thought about that for a long time, and I've decided why not. What they'll do is start investigating the authenticity of the sketch. They'll call in authorities from all over the world. They'll analyze the ink in the paper. They'll research all of its illustrations, notes, compare, compare, and compare. In short, they'll make a science of it. Some will say yes, some will say no. Scholars will debate about it. At last, but some stubborn ones won't agree. Therefore, the statue and the sketch will appear in the books with a big question mark. Experts don't believe in coincidence as much as I do, and I don't want them to doubt on something that I've felt always and actually known for about 25 years. Claudia's eyes widened. But Miss Frankweiler, if there's the slightest doubt that either the statue or the sketch is forgery, don't you want to know? Don't you want to know the last little bit of doubt has been cleared up? No, I answered abruptly. Why not? Because I'm 82 years old, that's why. There, now Jamie, you see, I slipped too. Now I've told you how old I am. Jamie looked at his sister and asked, what's that got to do with anything, Claude? Claude shrugged. I'll tell you what it's got to do with it, I said. I'm satisfied with my own research on the subject, and I'm not in the mood to learn anything new. Claudia said, but Miss Frankweiler, you should want to learn one new thing every day. We did even at the museum. No, I answered, I don't agree with that. I think you should learn, of course, but some days you must learn a great deal. But you should also have days when you allow what is already in you to swell up inside of you until it touches everything, and you can feel it inside you. It is never, if you never take time to let that happen, then you just accumulate facts and they begin to rattle around inside of you. You can make noise with them, but never really feel anything with them. It's hollow. Both children were quiet. I've continued. I've got, I've gathered a lot of facts about Michelangelo and Angel, and I've let them grow inside me for a long time. Now that I know, that's enough for me, but there is one new thing I'd like to experience. Not know, experience. And the thing is impossible. Nothing is impossible, Claudia said. She sounded to me exactly like a bad actress in a bad play. Unreal. Nothing is impossible, Claudia said. She sounded to me exactly like a bad actress in a bad play. Unreal. Claudia, I said patiently, when one is 82 years old, one doesn't have to learn one new thing every day, and one knows that some things are impossible. What would you like to experience that is impossible? Jamie asked. Right now, I'd like to know how your mother feels. You keep saying that she's frantic. Why do you want to feel frantic? This came from Claudia. Now she sounded like the real Claudia Kincaid. It's an experience I would like to have because it's part of the bigger experience I want. Claudia said, You mean like you'd want to be a mother? Jamie leaned towards Claudia and whispered in the loudest, wettest whisper I have ever heard. Of course that's impossible. Her husband is dead, and you can't be a mother without a husband. Claudia poked Jamie. Never call people dead. It makes others feel bad. Say deceased or passed away. Come now, children. Put away the file. You must tell me about your adventure. All about it. What you thought and what you said and how you managed to carry off that cozy, crazy whole caper. All right, guys, so that is chapter 9. We will read the next one tomorrow. We got one more chapter, chapter 10.